Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. So we have a full amount of time. Thank you for coming and being here. Thank you, David, for presenting. And let's begin with prayer. God, we give you thanks for the variety of artists that you have brought our way, the painters, the writers, lithographers, musicians, and the mystics. We thank you for Rembrandt and what he represents and who he was in the world. And we pray that you would open our eyes to see how he was connected to you and shared his gifts with all of us through that connection.
Amen. Thank you. On the volume notes, I have a disability that means I cannot project very much on these volumes. So let me know if you need me to repeat things. Or someone else can help me out. Because I don't have a lot of volume. I am so excited to share Rembrandt with you today. This series grew out of a series I co-created at Bennett Hill Monastery in the Springs. And I taught with the nuns there. And we went through all the big people and mystics, you know. We talked about St. John of the Cross, St. Teresa of Avila, we did all of the big ones. They were all Christian. And they all, the ones we talked about all left writings. So I thought, wait, we're missing a whole bunch of people. So I wanted to combine some of my loves and some of my worlds. My first career was as an art historian and archaeologist. So I spent some time working with them, teaching them how to look. When we don't have words, how do we connect with some of mysticism? And Rembrandt is a perfect example of how to do that. So I gave you, Mike, you can pull up the slideshow and start with the first one.
Go ahead and start the slideshow. All right.
I gave you a little bit of his biography, just so we can go through. Rembrandt did not talk about God at all. You know, I didn't write about God that we know at all. He had no idea if he went to church. But we don't need to have it with him because you'll see. He'll tell me if you can believe that he had experience with God. His religion we're not even sure of because his mom was Catholic, his dad was Dutch Reformed. There's not a lot of evidence of where he practiced in community. He was born the ninth of their children. They were a family of means. He was not suffering when he was young, and that allowed him to apprentice to big masters at the time. He moved to Amsterdam to do that, and shortly after he moved to Amsterdam, he married one of the two loves of his life, Saskia. There's lots of his paintings of her. They had 4 children, only one lived, Titus. And then Saskia died shortly after Titus was born. Rembrandt drew images of her on her deathbed as she was sick and dying. He, shortly after that, became involved with Titus's wet nurse. They had a really challenging breakup. When she left him, she asked for alimony and she tried to take him to court, and he and her siblings had her placed in the Women's Home of Corrections. So not a great thing to do. And I bring that up because our experience of God is not contingent on us being perfect. He later had another relationship with his maid, who I think was 23 when they began their relationship. He loved to collect artworks, especially prints, to try to inspire himself. He was always experimenting with different practices and different processes. So he collected these artworks, and they cost a lot of money. And he went through a long spell with bankruptcy, which Titus actually didn't know of. Both of them died before he did, so he buried 2 beloveds and 4 children. Nope. I think Cornelia, his only other surviving daughter, survived him. So he went through a lot of pain, and he died without wounds at all in a very he was in a rented grave, he was buried in a rented grave.
How does that work? To rent a grave?
I don't know the specifics on how it used to happen. That's something that I should look up. I don't know. It means his burial was noted in the paperwork, which is not true of everyone. But I don't know if they did.
Maybe do they kick you out?
I don't know. That's a good
Don't
question.
worry.
But you know, I've been to like everywhere he's lived, and I'm not. It's great.
Interesting.
So yeah. One thing about him that I want to point out is that we call him Rembrandt. That's his first name. We don't do that with a lot of male artists. We do a lot of female artists. That's a really important discussion to have too. But with male artists that I can think of in the Western canon, I think of the big three Italians, so Leonardo, Michelangelo, and Raphael. Otherwise, not a lot, except Rembrandt. So part of that is because Rembrandt's not his first name. That's an interesting choice. None of his contemporaries anymore are doing that. But his fellow country person 2 centuries later, Vincent van Gogh, based on Rembrandt doing that, decided to assign his image as Vincent. And I think if you're familiar with some of his works, you might notice a similarity, not in style, they're 200 years apart, but in heart and as in mysticism. So if you're familiar with Van Gogh's work, maybe look with that in mind. He was definitely inspired by Rembrandt and talked about this spirit. So what I'm going to do is, I could have told, I was talking to Florian and Elaine yesterday, I could have just picked out any of his images from a hat. He created now, I think, 300 paintings. When I was going through school, there used to be said that there were 600. Then there was a little project, the Rembrandt research team, and they went around the world deciding which pieces labeled Rembrandt were really by him. So curators would quake when they would come into their town because suddenly the value of an image would go way down. But he had lots of students, and this is so normal then for students to do much of the painting and still for you to sign it if you're the master. That's very normal. It's not anybody trying to, it's not plagiarism at all. Anyway, 300 paintings, 40 self-portraits at least 300 prints. So we're gonna look at some paintings, a couple of prints, really I could have chosen. I gave you information at the beginning, just a few things to look for. You're welcome to ask questions, jump in, and then hopefully in the second half of our time together, I've chosen 3 paintings for us to work with in a practice called Visio Divina. Some of you are probably familiar with it. If you're not, I'll walk us through it. So, okay. All right. Let's go to the next slide. Are you doing that or is Lord? Mike.
Well, I thought I was.
There you go.
Okay.
Here's a self-portrait, one of those 40 self-portraits. He loved to do self-portraits. Now, art historians a lot of times will always come up with a practical reason why people do things, and that's good. So they say that artists do self-portraits because that's what they have access to. Yeah, that's one way to look at it. It's valid. We're gonna see one more later. I want you to just know, actually we'll see 2 more later. Just pay attention to how people present themselves. So here we have a really, really early self-portrait. And they've given you all the information for these, so if you ever want to look them up, you have the information for these. This is called self-portrait with disheveled hair. Not his title, I'm sure.
Can you turn all the good lights off because there's enough of the glare? We could still see.
Yeah.
With the daylight.
That's much
Good.
better.
Thank you. And one thing you probably notice right away is that he is playing with light and dark. He really, really loves that. And I think that's an important aspect, not only technically, he's not the only one doing it, but he's not sure of that, but the way he uses light is, I think, constructive. So what do you think he's doing here with light and shadow? What do you get a sense of is this person, in this person? There's no wrong answers.
Introspection.
I was thinking the same word, the exact same word. Introspection.
The way that the eyes are directed.
There we go.
Well, it's slanted light, and there's just light from a narrow area. I feel like that has something to do with it,
Mhm.
not sure what.
Pensive. Yeah.
Being like thoughtful.
Yeah.
The eyes are in shadow where the ear is in light. I don't know if that has any significance.
I wonder if he did that disheveled hair on a little bit on purpose to cause the shadows where he wanted them to be, possibly in pain.
Could be.
I like that whole idea. We should said because the light's coming in like on his ear, you know, and he's turned away from the light, so he's not looking, like he's looking inside the light, maybe listening.
I think it just makes you dwell on the image longer because you're immediately drawn to the light part, but then you just go around and discover everything else. So it's like that's what draws you in, and then it like just makes you wander and wonder about every other little aspect of it.
That's fantastic.
Do we know like how much he actually looked like this?
Well, because we have our Instagrams, thankfully, we only know how artists looked if other artists Instagrams, and we have our couple. But yeah, he looks pretty much like this. But his personalities, he shows different sides of himself, at least in his self-portraits, which I love. So we can go ahead to the next one, Mike.
There we go.
This is his first big painting. At the time, what the commissions that brought in a lot of money were called history paintings. And history paintings were either religion or mythology, not like we think of history paintings. This is the stoning of Saint Stephen. And here he included a self-portrait. Carol, I don't know if you can see, sorry. Do you see this face right here? That's a self-portrait. And again, a lot of people say, well, that's because, you know, you have to put a lot of figures in this image and he has his own face and you can look in the mirror and you can see himself. Yeah, that's a practical reason for putting a self-portrait in.
Sorry.
I think though there may be other reasons. So, starting of Saint Stephen, that's the first martyrdom, right? Rembrandt is living in a century after Saint Ignatius of Loyola, who advised people to do this radical practice, which was to examine them or imagine themselves in scriptural stories, which I think it was radical at the time. And when I learned about it, I thought, I was always reading those stories and hearing those stories as a kiddo and imagining myself there. But that wasn't what people did, or at least talked about doing, until at a large scale until Ignatius, the century before him. So I think putting yourself in this image is a pretty bold choice. Yeah. What do you make of that, especially in the positioning?
Oops. I'm so sorry.
You can put yourself as Saint Stephen and say, I'm the good guy, or you can put yourself as, you know, one person stoning and saying, I'm like those people, or you can be an observer. So the place you put yourself in says a lot about, yeah, how you think you would have acted at the time.
Yeah.
Is he looking away?
It looks like he's looking up.
He looks
Looking at the action. Is my math right that he was 19 when he painted this?
That's right, yeah. I think, just for me, I mean, there's, again, no right answers, no wrong answers, he feels like he's looking at me. I feel like addressed, because he's looking at me. Anybody else?
Yeah, I can see that.
And so that kind of pulls me in, and what does that mean? What am I doing there in that situation?
By extension, what are we doing at the stonings of martyrs these days?
Exactly. Really important.
I feel like he's kind of making a face like, do you see what's going on here?
Yeah, I think I get the right paying attention. Do we know if he was right or left-handed?
I'm sure someone does.
Because I just wonder, it looks like what you see there from where I can see. It looks like you're seeing his left shoulder and arm. And so that could be that he sees himself as just turning away, just getting ready to just turn away and leave after seeing what's going on. Or if he's left-handed, maybe he just threw something, So there's a few questions in my mind as I look at that. Yeah.
From his signature, I would guess right, but.
Okay.
Yeah. And you notice here the dark and the light again? How does the dark and the light part of the story here?
I mean, I don't really know the story, but I'm guessing this like more legal looking guy must have, in the dark, did he like order this stoning? Yeah, I got that kind of immediately that he's trying to distance himself.
Yeah, it's definitely empire, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is to us.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic, y'all this is so lovely. Something that I've noticed when we look at visual art is the mind can get really activated and want to ask a lot of questions. And that's fine, that's great. For me, it sometimes will take me out of the experience. It happens to me with music too. Reagan and I were at a concert last night, beautiful music. And I noticed that there was a woman in the tenor section, and I suddenly was like, woman, when's the last time I saw many bars of them? I remember that I'm listening to music, right? That's just a human thing, minds do that. So when you're looking at images or listening to music, the invitation is get back into whatever sense is being engaged. Just to say to your mind, I know that you want to be involved and active, but let's take a break. All right, we can go on.
What's the name of this one?
The Stoning of St. Stephen. It's the second one on the list.
Is that the one?
That's the one.
Okay.
Yeah. When Rembrandt moved to Amsterdam, he lived in the Jewish quarter. And he did lots and lots of drawings of his neighbors. And he used them as models for his representation of the Hebrew scriptures. This is his image of Jesus, and he did use one of his neighbors as a model. You've seen a lot of images of Jesus throughout your lifetime. What do you experience when you look at this one?
Tenderness.
That's a great word for tenderness.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate there's not a blonde-haired, blue-eyed American Jesus. But this is probably a long time before people start doing it, so.
They were doing it, yeah.
Oh,
Looks very thoughtful.
Yeah.
As if he knows everything, everything that's happened up to that point is important, and he knows everything that's gonna happen. Maybe that's what I'm seeing in the face, just the expression.
And also very human. He's just a guy.
Mhm.
Very human. Yeah, Jenny, and that I think is one of the reasons that I experienced Rembrandt as a mystic, because more than I think any other visual artist I come across gets that connection between human and divine. is, you know, Christianity's big gift to the world, I think.
The tilt of his head and the expression on his face just seems very introspective to me.
I think it feels to me like there's someone else, and he is attending so carefully to that other person.
Yeah.
Painting kind of bothers me because it looks like one eye is looking in one direction, the other one's looking at another direction.
Love it, like it feels so still, like engaged, but really still.
100% focus. Yeah, you got all of me.
And can you tell, I think it's most easily seen on his forehead, but can you tell how thick that paint is? And he's just like slathering it on. He was always playing with that, playing with the textures. He, well, my first college art history professor, this was in Germany, and he presented Rembrandt as he just makes chocolate soup. And only later did I realize that he was trying to get us to, you know, argue with him, and we did. With all of our, you know, 18, 19-year-old excitement. How can you say that? This is so wonderful. But with such a spare palette, really easy. And we'll see later, our last image, so much darkness. The darkness is itself a character, a force. So I don't think chocolate soup.
Have you seen this painting?
I have not seen this.
I was just curious because the part, it looks like he has some kind of neckerchief type thing on or something. And it looks so, to me, it looks like gold metallic. And I'm just like, just as far as the painting, it's amazing that he can create that metallic look to it. Because I mean, at that time, I don't know if they had a paint that could have a metallic.
Yeah, he was so skilled. Thank you, John. He was so skilled at different textures. Yeah, I haven't seen this one. It's in Berlin. That's why I went. I haven't seen it. Has anybody seen it?
The dark palette though, what's interesting is right behind his head, the left ear, is just the subtle, it's almost like an ochre gold.
That
Just
kind
this-
of band right there.
Yeah.
Do y'all see what she's talking about?
Just that little bit of line on there.
Yeah. Here. That part? Yeah.
Yeah. So what you're talking about?
Yeah, oh look.
Yeah. So that people online can kind of.
Yeah. And Mike, if they obviously wanted to chat. One thing Rembrandt did a lot was make prints. And I am going to show you two different states of the same subject matter, and I gave them to you on your handout so that you can look at them side by side, but we'll also make you can go to the first one. The next,
For the next slide.
yeah.
Okay.
This is called the three crosses. The one that's on the back of the written page is the first phase, and the other one is the fourth. He did 5 phases of this, so over the course of 7 years. These are both etching and dry paint, so I'll give a little bit of information about the technique that is. So etching is made when you put a protective layer, usually a wax type substance, on the plate, and then you draw with your tool. So that leaves a little groove in there. You put acid on that, and acid eats away at where the groove is, and that's where the lines, the black lines, will be for your image. And the tool you use is very painterly. It's like a stylus. Dry point is different. You use a tool that's much more almost like a nail. And when you scrape against the plate, it pushes up the little, it's like making a hollow that's very messy on the sides, that pushes up the sides. And so those lines are gonna be craggly So he did both of those with each of these images, used both of those techniques. So 3 classes, you know, we knew the story, of course. This is the crucifixion. And you're at choice. Different people interpreted this all different ways, which thief is the good one, which one is the bad. What moment is this? So you are just as able to look at this and come to your own, come up with your own ideas as anyone. But first, just the technique. Do you notice some things between the first phase and this 4th phase? What's he playing with here? And like the second one, the next one is the next one. So. Y'all can see it.
Oh,
Yeah, the second one of the crosses that doesn't show up at all.
Yeah. It's there, but it's really dark. So keep looking at your first and I'll point out some things. So Mary is here. You see her? And look at your first image. You can see her much more clearly. A light line, but she's more delineated. Right?
is this?
Right there. She's being held by them, yeah. Right here. She's fallen down.
She's falling. Oh,
Yeah.
she's like over there.
See? Couple things else. All this dark. It's not there on the other one. Also, this horse. You see the horse on the left? There's a rider in the first one, a very inferior looking rider. And now he's riderless. And going the other way. So what do you make about any of that or anything when you encounter these?
There's only, in one, there's only one person walking away in the front, and there's 2 in that one there.
Kind of like he's paring it down and down and down.
But the one you see in both is looking as if there's somebody there. You know, he's still looking the same way, and maybe even conversing or something almost. But
Where's that about the left on the first one? Is that a city behind there or? Very big cliffs. The crowds. Yes, to all of it.
yeah, you mean those lines that kind of go up? You can see some
Yeah,
lines going all the way to the top.
Domes and columns and stuff.
it's almost cave-like.
Mm.
In the first image, the riderless horse, is that the rider down on one knee and from the horse? Because it's a guy wearing fancy clothes and a sword, a sheathed sword.
The rider is on the horse in the first image. I think he talks about that.
Oh, wait a second.
Oh, in the first image, the horses, those people you see are in the background.
I think there's 2 horses.
Oh, I'm looking at this. Sorry, I'm looking at this horse on the far left.
But the horse that's in the middle of the first image, the one that doesn't have a rider on it, the guy in fancy dress with the sheathed sword on his knees.
Yes.
Is he the one
Is that the guy has he gotten off of his horse and gotten on his knee?
People have suggested that might be.
Well, the one with his hands out.
Yeah, that's the one.
It's, he looks like he doesn't want this to happen, but that's my opinion.
I mean,
Is
there's a
he
lot of
the one that said surely this was the son of the light?
could be, yeah, a lot of people have suggested that.
Looks like it.
So can I ask, like, so he carves into, did you say it was wood?
No.
No. And then does he like paint over it and then stamp it? Is that what's happening? So then does he reuse that? And so there's like a bunch of this one and then he redoes it and makes a bunch of five. Exactly. Yeah.
Is it the same plate?
So the finished image is actually a mirror of what he is drawing, correct?
Yes.
So
Yes.
he draws it.
Yes. Yes. How old is he? This is later in his life, but he and he loved painting. At the time, it was such a vibrant art form, of course, because more people could purchase prints. And he played with all different kinds of ink. He loved papers from Japan. So he was really always playing with different things, which excites me to think of all the way to here. His print, so he has one print, I didn't bring it, but if you were interested in print making, I would look it up. It's called the 100 Guilder print because it costs 100 guilders and guilder. And at the time, most prints were selling for 1 or 2. So this one went for 100. So he was successful for various times of his life. One thing he does too that's unusual that for his time is that he'll combine different times in the same image. So 100 Guilder print is of Jesus preaching, but it's lots of different images of different sermons together. And so some people have suggested that this is also that, not just a moment in time during the crucifixion, but it's sort of the whole thing of the crucifixion. Those who want to locate it specifically have said variously that they think it might be when he's crying out to God, my God, why have you forsaken me? Or the moment of his death. For me, it's very evocative of the entire thing, the chaos, and especially that fourth image, just the heavy darkness. It feels like the entirety of it.
So is this like group of people down in this group of people? Is this like Judas kissing?
Could be, I don't know, it could be, I'm not talking about that, but it's definitely, it could be for sure. This market, yeah.
Or just fomenting something really dark.
It's not good.
That's
Yeah. All right, so you get to take plus video. We are gonna spend some time with 3 images. Like I said, I'm gonna do Visio Divina, I'll walk you through it. How many of you have done Visio Divina before? Okay.
what was, I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing.
Have you ever done Visio Divina?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. We're gonna do it with 3 different images and I'll walk us through each of them. The guidance is just look with the eyes of the heart and we just share whatever comes up as I guide you. Okay, so the first one I chose for us because this is self-portrait as the Apostle Paul. First, before we get into Visio, that's a bold move too, right? I don't know if I feel comfortable doing myself as maybe I would, I don't know. Not probably Paul. And so Paul is with his usual, he's usually shown with a book, often by painters in this period, and then he will also often be shown with a sword, which is the way that he was martyred. All right. So first when we do Visio, the first thing we do is just look. No words, just look. Allow this image to just come to you. For the next step of Visio, when we're in a group, we usually just share popcorn style a word. And it could be a descriptive word. It could be a feeling word. Whatever word comes into your heart or mind as you encounter this object.
Well.
I have the exact same one.
Well, I wouldn't say whatever, but.
Disappointed. Disappointed.
He looks exasperated.
Exasperated.
Judgmental.
I say inviting.
resigned.
Oh, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
Used.
Are you supposed to be in prison then? And when do they go? They ever get out?
Well, I feel like mine's totally off base.
Never, never, never.
I'm thinking breath of God.
Breath of God.
Hmm.
Never off base. That's one thing I love about painting is that with words we can say, look what they said. Not in words, correctly actually, but. So our next step is to go a little bit deeper. So you can use your word and say, how is that speaking to me in this moment in my life? You can expand a little bit on your word. You don't have to stick with your word or words at all. So we're going a little bit deeper into connecting with this object. As you sit here, you in 2024, what is it communicating to you?
Telling you. Telling you this, why aren't you?
Mhm.
You feel a little called out? Are you saying? Yeah. What are we gonna do now?
I say inviting because this makes me think of my Uncle Ron, and you'll know Janie is that he can look at you and with just a little raised eyebrow, he could say, now, what are you gonna do about this? You know, and
Yeah.
it's inviting me to say, what, inviting me to do something, to do that. This is what it feels like to me.
It's an inviting in and collaboration, because there he is, like that.
It looks to me like he just spoke a truth that you didn't expect him, or most people wouldn't have expected him to say, and he's just going, right? It tells you that it's the
Andre's
truth.
writing one of his letters, so, I'm trying to think. Well, yes, when you try to write a letter about something very important, it's really hard. And, you have to do a lot of thinking, and some of it is certainly like that.
Yeah, thank you.
And get this forward. And knows that he knowing that you're waiting and knowing what you're waiting for and knowing that you said your piece.
It's amazing to me that all this can come out of that, because it's just this thing. But when you let it be and have space, then all this stuff comes out.
Yeah, I think the painting makes me choose to do something, because he doesn't have a sword, it's just the looks, and so now I am, sort of, I'm on now, I feel like, the way it's written.
Yeah.
I think that he's thinking after all these years, you still don't know what I'm thinking.
I've written a lot of things. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Cynthia, do you want to talk about Breath of God?
I can, but I mean, there is so much in the face, but what my eyes and thoughts went to again is kind of the backlighting and the thought process of how Paul was called. And so the backlighting and just the complexity of the face, but there's so much more to it. As far as inspiration, persistence, in all that went into his writings. Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy. And the last part of Visio when we do it in a group is just one more glance, maybe with gratitude for the image and for this discussion. Before we go on, I'll just mention that when he's painting himself, there's no filters. You know, I'm so used to pictures out there nowadays that are just so perfect. He is really looking, and again, not just I think for technique, he's really looking at himself. So we'll go to the next one, and we'll do Visio with this one too. And many of you probably know this image. This is the return of the prodigal son. And just for a moment, allow, especially if you've seen this a lot of times, try to see it anew. Allow it to speak to you today. Now sharing one word or a phrase. Surrender.
And you see how very happy the father is.
I just see the other.
Authentic emotion.
And now let spiral down a little level. How does this speak to you in this moment? What does it seem to you today?
Well, I just think about Biden pardoning his son.
Says something to me about seeking, being willing to seek forgiveness.
Kind of longing to have the people still be with us. To forgive us.
I led a group we did Garfield Divina with this story a couple months ago. And the big thing that came out of it is how like we are both brothers at the same time. And that's still just like sitting with me. And that was why I was so drawn to the other brother who's back there like kind of sulking. I see myself in both of them still like months later after talking about the story.
I was drawn to the barefoot. And then I was drawn to the shoe, and so here we are at the bottom. Maybe it can get worse. But also he's still walking, he had to walk to get there. And he screwed up big time and rock bar, both hand. That's really what today feels we have to surrender because there's so much we're not in control of. And we're still going together.
I see it like a sort of exhaustion almost, or like the end of exhaustion. for everybody, but for the Father and the Son too. There's just like the Son, just imagining him just walking and walking for miles and miles, and the Father like holding, the worry in his heart for years, and just this sort of like sitting down almost, for a moment after like being almost like lost on a mountain trail, just kind of like.
Yeah, thank you. Sometimes we don't know how much we're carrying until we get to the moment to put it down, and that things like that.
Of course, the heads is shaved like prisoners' heads still are.
I just noticed on his belt that kind of a pouch there, and then below it looks like a sheath knife or something there. That's the first time I've really noticed that.
Now, is that his brother? Is that looking very legal over there?
That's his kind of brother, that big brother.
Oh, wow, this whole time I thought the other brother was the one sulking with that like black hat on.
No, maybe that's some kind of official, we don't know who that is, but yeah.
I thought the brother was the one glowering in the background.
Yeah.
They're actually, so mom is kind of in the middle,
Oh.
we think. Remember, I didn't write all this stuff down, and there are actually 3 images in the background, but it's really hard to see. For me, this is really timely, and my mom died recently, and my siblings like stuff. And there's a lot of stuff that's going on in my family about family stuff. So having the image of the siblings is powerful to me today.
That's kind of what I was feeling too, like a call to alignment a little bit. Like when I look at the image, something feels a little disjointed about it. So it's almost like, how could if they could just shift some of those figures towards, the Father and the Son, like what would that look like? Like kind of just, I don't know, I think you mentioned longing. There's almost like a structural longing or a shift.
Yes. Really, yeah. Cynthia, what you saying?
The words that have come to my mind are unconditional in feast and famine. So the unconditional is, I think, the waiting of the Father for the return. The unconditional love, regardless. This is such a complex thing. And feast or famine is what the Son has been through. And the welcoming for the feasting of the return.
If any of you are interested in this painting, Henry Allen wrote an incredible book called Prodigal Son, where he goes through every one of those images and invites us to see ourselves in each of these. Well, have you read it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who's the author?
Henry Allen. May gratitude to the image and to you all for that discussion. And to Rembrandt across the ages. One more, Mike. I wanted us to do a Christmas image before we left. This is one of those that my professor would call chocolate soup, very dark. These are often called night paintings because they occur at night, the scene occurs at night. And also because he chooses to actually make it really, really dark like it would have been. He didn't have to do that. Lots of his contemporaries were having even as the spotlights, but he's using the light very particularly here. So we'll do this over this again. So this is the adoration of the shepherds. I'm just sharing a word or a phrase that comes up when you meet this image.
Focus.
Focus, Lori?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Illuminating.
Carol?
Illuminating.
Lori, thank you.
I see that all the faces are bright, or almost all of them. So that even though there's dark all around, everybody's face is bright.
Penetrating?
Fulfillment.
Fulfillment.
Making it light of the world, light of the world.
Light of the world.
It's like that, they had such privilege at that time to be able to see the Christ child.
My first thought is cold, which raises questions for me about practicing this. Is it the first thought that comes to mind that I'm supposed to go with? Because sometimes I feel like it's just like surface stuff that my mind comes up with. Whereas like if I spend more time looking at it, I might identify something that's more meaningful, or I could get more out of it. Because like, yeah, the first thing that comes to me is I just feel like people are cold there, huddled over it, which I could go with. But
I got that too, I got cold as well.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why I always invite to do either.
Oh, okay,
Either keep
okay.
going with that word or something else.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because it's both and, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
which that was, I'm sure. So today, as you are sitting here, what is the message for you? This person.
Out of the darkness comes great light.
You know, when I first saw it, everything was dark. I couldn't see anything except the light.
And then, as I looked, I can see it all now. So the light is.
You have to be able to look though, right? That's the trick.
I think what it says to me today is that there's something afoot that I don't know that's bright, very, very bright and holy. But I don't know, and I'm not in that that room particularly, or looking at it from a great distance. So it gives me a kind of hope that, well, just a kind of hope that things aren't as bad as I think they are.
Thank you, Lauren. Yeah.
I see evil looking down.
Mm.
If you look up above the light, you'll see a curve, looks like a nose.
Oh,
See what I'm
is it
talking
that?
about? It looks like a to the left, it looks like an evil eye. And I know this is kind of weird because I didn't sleep very well last night. But I see evil looking down and seeing what he could have been had he not been evil.
Wow.
I saw that too. I see, it looks to me like, anybody who knows Harry Potter, it looks like a Dementor just right above that. Or something, But what I really see, and the thing that I hang with is, that was in first, I noticed it and then I got away to the image but it just brings to me, and in this time in my day, the value of simplicity and community. And, these are people that really came together and they understand the core of the situation, despite what anybody else in the world knows, and some of them will learn it, but they don't know it now. But these people know, they're the wise ones there, and they understand that it's not about, it's about that place right there. And then, there's some lovely gifts coming in, for the Christ child. but mainly it's just about being there and about life.
Thank you, Martin. The two words I can't shake for me is mystery and fulfillment
Mystery and fulfillment.
at the same time. And you don't have to know the answer. It's okay.
Well, this is very personal for me because I get to go see my newest little great grandbaby who was born November 17th. Be seeing her day after tomorrow.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, you get this sense of like, it's been so cold and dark, like, but there's like, I don't know what this is yet, but there is one.
I don't know if anyone else feels the same way, but it just makes me want to stand up and walk towards it because everything is just drawing me into it, and I want to see every little detail.
Yeah.
I want to get closer.
Yes.
Joe, I feel the same way. It's an invitation to me.
Yeah, there's a definite invitation.
Yeah.
If I was in the museum, I'd be the person that's like up there.
The guardian.
Yeah.
Sir.
And then they tell you no touch.
Oh, yes. Step away from the.
And they're done that.
Well, thank you so much, friends. The reason that we're talking about these mystics is not because they're the only ones. It's that they were generous enough to share with us, right? I think everyone else is a mystic. But to be able to share that experience across the ages, that is an amazing gift for us. So we're going to continue this series after Christmas. We are going to learn about Leonard Cohen, and we're going to learn about Mary Oliver. And we're just so excited. If any of you have something you want to share, please let us know. Alicia or Lori or myself. Your little homework or invitation for this week, inspired by Rembrandt, is twofold. One is, as you go about your days, when you see and you hear about stories, we're gonna go have our pageant right now, especially scriptural stories. Try to imagine your next door neighbor in that scene, right? When you go and see the great grandbaby, see the beloved child of God that she is, right?
Yes.
When I was, some of you have heard the story before, but when I was very pregnant with my second child, I walked into Christmas Eve service and a little toddler did the whisper that toddlers do, which is not a whisper. Mama, he turned to his mom and said, Mama, is that Mary? And I remember thinking, kind of, right? So do that today, maybe in the pageant. When we're gonna release these little ones in these roles, it's not just a representation, right? Look with the eyes of Rembrandt. The second one, if you're willing, look at yourself in the mirror. Spend some time like Rembrandt did, really looking at your face and seeing the human and the divine that's there. Lori or Carol, do you have anything else to share with us?
No, thank you so much, Amy.
Thanks, Carol.
Yeah, good practices that you're leaving us with. Thank you so much.
Thanks, friends. Okay. Thank you, friends. Thank you.